Welcome to the Crypto Lab. I coded a brand new indicator. It's a line that has caught all XRP cycle bottoms so far. In this video, you will know if we hit it or not. Before talking about this new indicator, as you all know, last week was a very bloody week, but we knew that XRP would not go lower than the montain indicator in orange, and the price would stop just right here, at least for this week. Why? Because that's the purpose of this indicator, finding XRP bottoms. However, please notice that it can be a local bottom or a cycle bottom. Now let's take a look at the time window between the bottoms, okay? So let's start from here. If we consider this local bottom and this one, let's measure the time window between those two bottoms. We have 19 weeks, so almost 20 weeks. Then if we continue to the right side and we take this local bottom and our previous cycle bottom, we measure it, you see that it was 82 weeks. And then between the SEC sell-off and our cycle bottom, just right here, it was 42 bars. And the last one, just right here, if we measure it from here to this local bottom, it was 71 bars. So 71 weeks. So you understand that until now, we had a decent amount of time between each test of the montain indicator. And the downside to that is that the longer we wait for the retest of the montain indicator, the lower we go. For example, here we wait 20 weeks and it was a 44% drop from bottom to bottom, of course. Then from this bottom to this bottom, if we measure it again, from here to here, you see that it was more than 50%, okay? So it was more than a 50% drop. So it was a pretty huge sell-off. Now that you have a global picture of the past, now, if we take a look at the current situation, you can see that for the very first time, we have a very short period of time between this local bottom and this bottom. And if we measure it, it was only 5 weeks. And the good news is that as we have a very short amount of time between those two bottoms, when we retested the montain indicator, they are pretty close to each other. And if we measure it, it was only a 14% drop. Now let's move on with the analysis. It's time to take a look at my brand new indicator that detects XRP cycle bottoms. As you can see on this chart, the understanding is pretty straightforward. It's as easy as it looks. Every time we touched the line, it was a cycle bottom for XRP. And this starts from July 2014, when only a few people knew about XRP. It was the very first time that we touched the bottom line, and as you can see, it was a perfect touch. Then we touched the line a second time. It was again a perfect opportunity to buy XRP, and it was in the same cycle, okay? Because in this cycle, we had two bottoms. And after the retest of the bottom line, you already know what happened. We had this legendary moonshot that put XRP on the radar of a lot of people, including me. If we continue, you can see that the line caught this cycle bottom too, but this time it was a little bit different than the other ones. Indeed, if we zoom in, you can see that we pierced the line in a pretty deep way. But fortunately, you can see that we closed the two weekly candles just above the line. This one, that was our bottom, okay? We closed above the line, and the second one was still above the line. And this was the confirmation that the bottom was reached. And after this bottom, we went from 10 cents to $2. So what about now? This is probably the most important part of the video. As you can see, we touched the line. I repeat again, we touched the line. This does not happen often. And as you know, on this channel, we are pretty accurate when it comes to catching bottoms. Because in my opinion, catching bottoms is way more important than catching tops. Why? Just because catching bottoms makes it easier to manage your emotions and to not lose your money. And when we mix the bottom line with the previous charts, as you can see, we have a beautiful confluence point between the montain indicator in orange and the bottom line. And I will never say it enough. Confluence is your best friend in those markets. You remember when the bull market support crossed the last resistance band? This was a big rejection, you remember? And it was a confluence point between those two lines. And right now, we see that we have a confluence point and the price has been attracted to the same area. Currently, the bottom line is around $0.29. And you know that I have a theory saying that when Bitcoin bottoms, XRP bottoms too. Well, let me tell you why I think that this bottom is a great candidate for our cycle bottom. First, as I just said, we touched the bottom line and the montain indicator. In addition, on Twitter, I said that I had 6 conditions to detect Bitcoin bottom. I made a post about it the day that it happened on June the 18th. We have the 20 weeks MA, which is the simple moving average in red on this chart, and you see that we pierced it. It was the first condition. Then we have the aqua line in blue. You see that we tested it just right here, and then we retested it here. We pierced it, okay? It was the second condition. We have the golden bottom line, which is this line, which is catching all Bitcoin bottoms, okay? So we pierced it. Then we have the bottom cross. It was from another tweet that I made earlier, the day before. You see that we had the cross for the bottom cross. So it was another condition for Bitcoin bottom. We have the montain indicator in green on this chart. You see that we pierced it, and you know that the montain indicator detects the bottom too, okay? And the final test, the final condition was the red dots, okay? That you can see just right here, and it is a logarithmic regression line. And as you can see, it was the lower line of all the lines, and we went deep to touch it and retest the line. Now, if we take a look at Bitcoin charts, it looks like this, okay? So as you can see, we pierced all the lines and we went to retest the dots that we have here. We even pierced it. It was very scary, but then we had a bounce to the upside. And right now we are above the dots. We are above the bottom line, the golden bottom line, and above the montain indicator. Now open your ears, because what I'm about to say is very important. We are still in a very bearish position. And if we want to start dreaming again about higher prices, the first step is to go above the aqua line and above the 200 weeks simple moving average in red. For now, we are still below those two lines, as you can see, which looks a bit scary in my opinion. Why? Because as long as we stay below those lines, it means that we could use them as resistances, which would not be good at all, guys. Fortunately, we are still using the bottom line, the montain indicator, and the dots as support. For now, I want you to focus on this area between the aqua line and the red dots, because this will decide of the future of the market in the coming weeks. Indeed, as you can see, the aqua line is going down. So if we start using it as a resistance, it will push us down. Of course, we have multiple supports below us, and I hope that the bottom line will be able to hold us to push us to the upside. The last thing I wanted to share with you is the hourglasses indicators. You remember them, okay? Because we have this in pink and this in green, okay? And as a reminder, we know that every time that we cross them, we had a big event in the market. We have a big event in the market. For example, here it was a top. For example, here it was a top again. It was a major top for XRP, just right here, with the pink line of the hourglass indicator. Then here it was a major top for XRP again, with the hourglass indicator, but this time in green. And recently we tested the hourglass indicator. We got pushed to the downside, and we will retest it very soon, as you can see, just right here, okay? So it is going down, and soon we will cross it. So I can't wait to see what will happen after crossing this line. Hopefully we will stay above all those lines, because if we see the price going below the bottom line and closing below it, it will be the very first time in the whole history of Bitcoin that we are doing this, and it will be a very, very bad sign. That's why we will track this on this channel. Of course, this is not financial advice, I'm just sharing my observations. But for the long-time subscribers, you know that we anticipated the move way before it happened because of this big confluence area between all those lines, and we said that we would probably test these lines in the bearish case. And this is exactly what happened. Now that we met all the conditions for a bottom, let's see if we are able to go up from now. Like, comment, subscribe if you like the content. This requires a lot of work. Thanks for the support. That's all for today's video, and as always, time will tell.